Science fans, so today we're going to do the nervous system. So this is Mrs Corbett's quick bite revision for AQA. This is for trilogy and the triple science combined, higher and foundation. This does everything. We're going to do the nervous system and how the brain responds to certain environments and how your body responds to stimuli, but also what happens when you need to respond faster, so a reflex response. I'm a bit jazz hands today. Okay, let's get cracking. Here that shows the bones that protect the central nervous system. So the central nervous system is your brain and your spine. That's not your spine, that's your shoulder. Is your brain and your spine protected here by the skull and the vertebrae. That's your central nervous system. Everyone needs to know that. Two parts, brain, spine. There's also the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of nerves, which are bundles of neurons, the nerve cells, and they transmit information between the outside world into your central nervous system, and then from your central nervous system to cause an effect to a response.
So from the central nervous system, there's your brain and your spinal cord. What a beautiful diagram. From the outside world, you have sense organs which detect stimuli. So stimuli is a change, any change. So for example, if you see something, there'll be a change in light, and a receptor will travel through your neurons to your spine. And this neuron in particular is basically a nerve cell. This is a sensory neuron, that's the cell body, that's the nucleus, because it has a receptor at the end, and a receptor takes the information from the surroundings, transports it along through the spinal cord to the brain, your control centre, and then your brain will consider a response, and that response will travel down a motor neuron. And this here again is insulating my neuron, and that will stimulate, going to say that this is a muscle, stimulate an effector organ. So an effector organ which will cause a response. So if I see a cake, my response is probably going to be to move my arm muscle and eat the cake. So here we've got stimulus, receptor, sensory neuron, control centre, which is the brain, motor neuron, effector organ, response. That is the process of conscious action and conscious thought detecting stimuli from your nervous system. Boom.
Electrical impulse. That is how this information travels from your sense organs all the way through to your brain. And it only jumps from neuron to neuron through gaps called synapses, where it momentarily turns into a chemical transmission and then straight back to an electrical one. Electrical impulse. Because I'm a genius, I'm Mrs Corbett. You're thinking, what if it is a reflex response? So what if I'm not thinking about it like, oh, that's a bit burny, oh, my finger is melting away. What if I'm thinking that? What is the difference? Well, in that case, we would do a reflex, and a reflex means that we respond quickly, involuntarily, without even thinking about it, which is good for survival, because otherwise, wouldn't react quickly enough. Dead. That's got a reflex arc. Let's do it.
So in a conscious nervous impulse, we would go stimulus, receptor, sensory neuron, control centre or the brain, motor neuron, effector organ, response. Brilliant. Not brilliant, too slow. Could be potentially dead. So instead we would use a reflex which goes stimulus, we see the stimulus or feel it, receptors pick up that feeling, change it to our sensory neuron. Don't have time to go to the brain, too far away. We go through a relay neuron, which is in the spine. Okay, and what this will look like in a picture is like stimulus, receptors, sensory neuron. Now we're into the spine. This is the spinal column. That's your spinal cord. Relay, and then straight out into a motor neuron. Effector organ, response. Huzzah! Not dead. Relays are quicker, more involuntary, and they mean that we skip the brain and go straight through the spinal cord, through the relay, jumping synapses as we go.
That's the nervous system. And look, I've made this like brilliant homeostasis revision slide that I just did on a revision card. It's totally worth doing that. So I've got my reflexes, I've got my conscious actions. This is backwards, this is really difficult. Hope you found that useful. We're going to do the endocrine system, but I've also had someone ask to do atoms and ions and isotopes as well. So see you soon. Bye.